You guys, welcome to Confident Canine's channel. My name's Kyle. You guys, we have got to talk about this question because it's a question you're going to get all the time if you're training dogs, and it's going to be a question that you're going to ask if you're having your dog trained. When can I take the equipment off? This is particularly true for people who are doing the type of training that I'm doing, which is a lot of people. Our program itself is unique and specific, but as far as the tools that we use, there's a lot of people using the tools that we use. I didn't invent e-collars or prong collars. And so when you are using those tools, people are always going to ask, when can they come off? And it's a natural question to ask. I get it. But I think that it is, I think it is indicative of, goal setting that maybe needs to be adjusted, because what it means is a lot of times that's people's goal. When can I take that's my goal, to get the equipment off. Whereas I think that, hey, I got a dog here with a cat problem, and he did so awesome as the cat walked by. So the goal should not be to get the equipment off, in my opinion. The goal should be to have a good relationship with your dog, to have a well-trained dog, to have a dog that you can effectively communicate with and that listens to what you ask them to do. A dog that you can effectively hold accountable, a dog that listens to you, and those kinds of things. I don't think that getting the equipment off is the best goal. And the reason is this. Well, one of the reasons is this. They're communication tools. That's what tools are. They're for communication. People don't, ask, when can I get rid of my cell phone? Why? Because they like using a cell phone to communicate with other people. It's critical. It's critical that we be able to communicate with each other, and we understand that. That's why we constantly develop new forms of communication, like email and the internet and social media and cell phones and smartwatches and all these things that facilitate communication with each other, because we place a huge emphasis on communicating. It's very important, and we know that. Well, it's the exact same with our dogs. We've got to be able to communicate with our dogs. It's very important, but it's not something that gets as much emphasis. But if you sort of reframe tools, I think a lot of people look at tools as training wheels or crutches. I don't think that at all. I think that you've got to flip that a little bit. And no, the same as your cell phone. You don't see that as a crutch or as a hindrance. I mean, maybe you do, if you're, feeling too connected. But most of us, at the end of the day, we see it as a part of our life because we've got to communicate. And it's the same thing with tools on our dogs. These are tools that facilitate clear, concise, effective, consistent communication with our dogs. And that is so important. We've got to be able to communicate with them. Not just today, not just for the next few weeks, forever, right? Now, does this mean tools can never come off in any situation? No, absolutely not. Personal dogs that I have, once they're, just completely rocking and rolling, yeah, I take the remote collar off inside because they do listen to me, and we have practiced our commands so many times, in so many situations, and so much work has gone into it that they know what's up, but that takes time. So don't be in a rush. As far as going off leash, I would always have your remote collar on your dog when you're off leash somewhere. Unless again, you're in your backyard and you feel very comfortable with them there and you've done a lot of work out there, that's fine. But if they're off leash somewhere where you're at a park or something, put a remote collar on your dog. If you're going on a walk somewhere that you're gonna have a need to help your dog, put your equipment on your dog. If you're gonna have people over and your dog struggles a little bit when people come over, put your equipment on your dog, so that way you can communicate to them what it is that you want and don't want in a meaningful way. That is so important, and that's such a huge part of what a training program is establishing lines of communication with our dog, and then using those lines of communication to tell them what we want and don't want clearly and effectively. They don't speak our language. They learn a set of words that we teach them, but other than that, they don't speak our language. They need something else. They need something that they can understand. And no, just putting a remote collar on your dog is not going to mean now you can talk to your dog like in Up or something, But when you do the work, or you have a trainer do the work to teach them how to respond to those tools, it's invaluable. It's absolutely invaluable. So I'm not saying you can't ever take your equipment off, but what I am saying is that as a question, I don't think is something worth focusing on. I don't think it should be the focus. I think it should be a byproduct of your training. That one day you realize, maybe I don't need to keep my remote collar on my dog anymore in this situation, in the house, when we're doing this, when there's nobody here, whatever the case may be, you know, and you say, okay, maybe I don't need that. But it's not this thing where you're like, you write it on the calendar like, oh, by this day I want to be remote collar free, and then that day comes and you take it off just because that's what you wanted to do, but your dog's not ready. Don't look at it as a crutch. It's not a crutch. Your cell phone's not a crutch. Your email's not a crutch, right? It all serves a purpose. It serves a purpose to be able to communicate with each other, and the same is true with our dogs. So I understand where the question comes from, but if this is a question that you're asking or you're wondering, you're doing training with your dog and this is something that you're thinking about, reframe the question. Ask yourself why you're asking that. Ask yourself, what is your real goal? And is that question a part of that goal? That would be my advice. Evaluate what that question means to you, why it's important, and why you want it to happen. If it's just a matter of like you don't want to like have to deal with the tools, might have to get over it. It doesn't take that long. I do it all the time. I know it can be a little bit of a pain to have to rotate your dog's collar, but you know, you do it every 5 or 6 hours. You do it 2-3 times a day, like 3 times a day max. It's not a big deal. A little bit of a pain, but you know, you got to charge your phone, right? You know, you got to deal with that. So, but otherwise, you know, if you're just thinking that, oh, it means my dog's not trained because they have tools on, says who? Says who? People will tell you that, but it's not true. Or you say, you know what? Fine. My dog's not trained. He does everything I want him to do. He listens to me every time I ask him to do something. He doesn't give me any hassle on walks or when we're at the park. I can take him anywhere and he behaves, but he's not trained. Fine. Call it what you want. You know, very often there's people who are going to tell you your dog's not trained because he doesn't have because he has tools on. Their dogs are terrible. Their dogs aren't trained. You know, neither are theirs, you know, but they're just throwing shade, you know. So again, just ask yourself why that question is coming up and reevaluate it and see what it means to you and go from there. So that's my advice. If you have any questions, let me know. Hit me up in the comments. I'd love to hear them. I'd love to talk. And with that, thank you for checking us out, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.